against terrorism.
Hey, I'm Christopher John Farley, a senior editor with the Wall Street Journal. Today my guests are Mark Wahlberg. He's the star of the new movie Patriots Day, which is a movie about the Boston Marathon bombings. And we have Ed Davis, who was the commissioner of police during that awful time back in Boston. Thanks for coming to the Wall Street Journal.
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks for having us.
Now, one question I have for you. Obviously, the Boston Marathon bombings were a horrific event. People lost limbs, they lost lives. It challenged people's notions of their own safety. What made you think that this was something you wanted to turn into a movie?
Well, I think the way people responded, growing up in Boston, I've had a lot of sports heroes growing up, and we always kind of put them on a pedestal. And I think after seeing how my community responded, it redefined the term hero for me. You had people from all walks of life running towards the problem, and the way the victims responded and have come out stronger, and it's pretty remarkable.
Now, of course, Ed, you were commissioner of police during the time of the Boston Marathon bombings. What were you doing when you heard the news, and how did you immediately respond to it to get your people in place?
I was the police commissioner in Boston and responsible for security at the marathon finish line. So we had over 800 officers deployed between Brighton and the downtown section. I was there in the morning, got the security details in place, made sure everything was going well, and then it turns into a local event. So I left after being there for quite a while. I left to take a phone call with the White House. Vice President Biden was calling in to talk about something, and just as I hung up from the call with the White House, the phone rang, and I was told that a bomb had gone off. Rushed to the scene. I was there in a couple of minutes, and we implemented a plan that we had in place. It was a little overwhelming, but we had to get these guys off the street, and I had 2,200 cops that were really hot to go get them.
And of course, you have roots in Boston, Mark. Where were you when you heard the news of the bombing, and what went through your mind?
Oh gosh, it's such a small community, so everybody knows somebody who was directly affected. And it's such a, like Ed said earlier, it's such a celebratory event. It's after a long winter. It's the actual holiday of Patriots Day. People are going down there to root their loved ones on in a road race. I was out of town, immediately flew to Boston the next day, and I'd never seen my city like that. I mean, it was deserted and just had that same eerie feeling that I had, September 11th when we came back from Canada to New York. It was scary stuff.
Now, of course, in Patriots Day, your character, you play a cop who helps track down the suspects in the crime. But of course, it's a composite.
Yeah.
A lot of the other characters are based on real people. And in fact, they are real people, actors playing real people.
Yeah.
What was it like, as a producer of this film, talking to the real people, saying, hey, we're going to portray you?
It was one of those things where when I first heard about them wanting to make a movie about the incident, I was reluctant. And then I realized there was now 3 movies in the works at various stages of development, and they were going to make the movie regardless. So I said, you know what, if we're going to do it, I'm going to do it, we're going to get it right. We were able to take another movie out of the marketplace. And then I think the people had, especially the victims and survivors, had a real sense of relief that they knew somebody they could now communicate with directly. And I got a lot of phone calls through family, friends, the mayor's office, with people who were directly affected by this wanting to sit down and talk to me. And the first thing they wanted to know what my intentions were. And once I was able to explain that to them and they could communicate what their fears, concerns were, and we would address them immediately, we started to get an overwhelming amount of support.
Those are not our guys. Meanwhile, you guys aren't any closer to identifying the 2 we're really looking for. We need to release those pictures.
We overplay our hand. We may force these guys to react.
This is my city, Rick. Release the goddamn pictures.
Ed, you played in the movie by John Goodman. What kind of advice did you give John Goodman on how to play you?
At one point, they were asking me to play.
Oh, really?
And I said, I don't know if I could kind of fill those shoes.
I would have had to lose way too much weight to have this happen.
Yeah, I know people can tell sitting down.
No, I would have had to figure out
tall guy.
6'8", yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's funny. But when I see him up there on the screen, it's a surreal feeling, that he's actually wearing the same coat that I had on. And first time I met John, he was trying to get my accent down. He says I have an accent. I don't get that, but they did their homework.
Wrap our arms around each other. I don't think there's any way that they can ever win.
One question I have for you is that, of course, you're from Boston, from Dorchester, but back when you were a kid in Dorchester, I mean, you were a troublemaker. You got into trouble. You even did some time.
Yeah.
And here you are playing the opposite side, playing a cop. Does that give you a new perspective on some of the troubles you had as a kid, seeing it from the eyes of a police officer?
Of course, and you have no idea how nice it is to be sitting on this side of the law, you know, sitting next to this man as opposed to, you know, in the jail cell underneath his office.
My office furniture is much more comfortable.
Yeah, but you know, it's one of those things where growing up, for a lot of people, I have a lot of friends who were out there in the street and trying to figure things out, and then were lucky enough to go on and have a life where they're actually real police officers. I mean, the amount of guys that I know in my neighborhood that could have went one way or the other, it's pretty much the same for everybody. So you being able to finally utilize that real life experience and use it for good was a great thing. But also, you know, once you're on the right side of the law, I think you have a totally different appreciation for the police. And what they did and what they continue to do and the sacrifice they make is something that I'm really appreciative of and wanted to honor.
Good versus evil, love versus hate. The devil hits you like that. There's only one weapon you have to fight back with. It's love.
There's a speech your character gives near the end where you sort of talk about the role of love and forgiveness and coming together through tragedy. Tell me a bit about what that speech meant to you and why that was part of the
I
movie.
think it's really the message of the movie. I mean, these things continue to happen, and you can't fully prevent them from happening. But what we can do is we can look at what people in Boston did. They came together, they stood up, and they held hands, and they got stronger. The resiliency that they showed was remarkable. If you look at Jessica and Patrick Downs, who Jessica lost both of her legs and Patrick lost a leg, and they inspire me so much with the light that they radiate and the love that they radiate. It's just remarkable. You know, so saying that, you know, yes, it's kind of, you know, love will always conquer hate, and, you know, we'll always come together and it'll make us stronger. And that is the thing that Pete and I continue to talk about every single day while making this movie, while writing the movie, while shooting the movie. I was talking so much about faith and forgiveness and love, and I just hammer it home every day. And you know, finally one day he said, I got it. I just thought he had heard enough from me. And they just thought that I was so emotionally committed to making this movie and really wanted to get it right, but then he actually went and wrote that scene. So.
And for you, watching the movie on screen, what was the most emotional scene for you, seeing it up on there on the big screen?
When they recreated the blast, I mean, I was there and saw the victims and the, you know, all the carnage that occurred. And it's an emotional thing. You know, it brings you back to that moment. But I really think that these guys nailed the human side of this, the Boston Strong side of it, and that was the most important lesson. What can happen when the community comes forward and toughs this out? Boston is a tough place, and I was proud to be part of that.
Keep reading about Wahlburgers. You've been expanding this year. You're going to be opening in Cleveland. You tweeted out.
Yep, we got
are you going to
13
film there too?
open now. Yeah. We're you know, the great thing about the show was always to help promote the business and build the business and work on building our other brands.
Will somehow LeBron James be lured into your store to have a burger? Or
Absolutely. He's already promised he was going to come by. Him and I are hoping to do a movie this summer during his break, kind of about fantasy basketball camps. We got this great idea, and we're actually in the development stage of the script right now.
Well, Mark Wahlberg, Ed Davis, thanks for coming to the Wall Street Journal. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
I appreciate
Great
it.
to see you.